It wasn't pretty, but the Aggies did what they needed to take down the South Carolina Gamecocks. They stopped Spencer Rattler.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. The Aggies get the win. They take down the South Carolina Gamecocks 30-17. One of those ball games, like I said, we're not going to sit here and nitpick much. We're to the point this season where we're going to take a win. You know, the Aggies don't cover. Those things don't matter. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter upset about it. It's like at the end of the day, I get it. That's not a good football team. But you got the win. You live to play another day with some of these important games coming up. You can't complain about it. Some things that I was happy with. I thought Max Johnson, once again, are there things to crisp up? Could he be better? Yes. Of course, there were some throws. There were some things. I think he had a touchdown kind of taken away from him on that Max Wright play. That would have been That was a touchdown. But had that taken away from him. But the stat line for Max, still 20 for 30, 249 yards through the air, and a touchdown. He still got hit a lot. The offensive line, still things to figure out. There are still things to figure out for this offensive line, things to get better. But once again, you're able to get the win, and that's what needed to happen today. You're coming off the bye week. You have to kind of find a way to leave with a W. You got Ole Miss next week in a game that you could kind of argue that or the LSU game. We've talked about how you got to win one of them. I think this is a good way to kind of give your team some confidence and go and make some stuff happen. Now, another thing I want to talk about, what did we see going into half? Coach Fisher takes a timeout. The Aggies score on a beautiful play, beautiful pass, catch and run from Max Johnson to Ainias Smith. The awareness that Ainias had to make that guy miss, that was crash. I mean, he is just so shifty. He's an incredible football player. We talked about he needed to be involved in this football game. Look at the numbers for Ainias Smith in this game. 6 receptions, 118 yards, and of course the long touchdown. He's one of the best receivers in college football. When you get the football in his hands, we saw why today. You got to keep feeding that guy. He's just too good to not have the football in his hands multiple times per game. So, yeah, the secondary, early in the game, I started to kind of go, ooh, here we go. But they get things figured out. We said all week here on Locked On Aggies, you have to shut down Spencer Rattler. It's what you have to do if you want to win this football game. I'm not the biggest Spencer Rattler truther, but I always say he's liable to just randomly throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. It seems like he does that once or twice a year, and you just don't want it to be against you. The Aggies didn't let that happen. Rattler, of course, 20 for 33, 176 yards and a touchdown. You also held South Carolina to 33 rushing yards. Now, a lot of that had to do with some sack yards taken off the board. Mario Anderson did have 72 yards on the ground, but once again, the sack yards, one of those college football things, make it that they only had 1.2 yards a carry on the day. Happy with that. So, yeah, I mean, once again, was everything perfect? Was it pretty? No. But you got the win. This was a must-win football game. You did what you needed to do. And frankly, I was happy with some of the coaching decisions today. So, I'm happy with the way this football game went. I think that there's stuff to work on, but a win is a win. I'm happy with that. We are going to talk about some guys that played great and some different storylines that I've seen on Twitter coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to go and bet on all of your live in-game, before-game, over-unders. It's a ton of fun. I do it all the time. I like that they give you a line, and you pick over and under, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, anything you want, you can go bet on. You can go bet on hits in the World Series. You can go bet on You can go bet on receiving yards in the NFL. You can go bet on points in the NBA. It's a fun service. It's a fun place to go bet on sports. You got to go check it out. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege for a first deposit match up to $100. So we'll run through some of these stats. I thought Cooper just continues to play. Edgerrin Cooper, he just continues to play good football. If I'm opposing quarterback, I'm just hoping he doesn't throw me on the floor. He has made himself a lot of money this season, which is good for him, good for that young man. But on the offensive side of things, like we talked about, Max Johnson, 20 for 30, 249 in the touchdown. Amari Daniels, 13 for 68 in the game with a touchdown. No Le'Veon Moss. A couple guys were banged up in this game. A couple injuries. Thomas got banged up and Tariq Chappell got banged up. I don't think I'm not long-term concerned there, but those guys at points of the game got banged up. But there were some guys not on the field that, in the bye week, you don't really hear about the injuries. And we talk about how Coach Fisher keeps this stuff close to his chest. So Le'Veon Moss wasn't out there. But Amari Daniels, like I said, 13 for 68, a touchdown. Reuben Owens, 18 for 40, 2.2 yards a carry. The touchdown run he had was amazing. He's still I thought he would have settled in more to college football. I don't think he's quite there yet, but I still believe in the future for what he's going to bring to the table. He's just a really good football player, and you're going to see it on display here sooner than later. Like we said, Ainias was 6 for 118 through the air and a touchdown. Evan Stewart, 6 for 55. Johnny Walker had a catch, 1 for 26. Jake Johnson, 2 for 20. Noah Thomas, 2 for 16. Max Wright, 2 for 9. And he got hoodooed on what should have been a touchdown. And then Reuben Owens, 1 for 5 yards. I'll tell you, we saw some mixing in and out at the cornerback position. We saw Sam McCall. I teared up a little bit when I saw Sam McCall on the football field. I was like, finally. And what does he do? He makes a good play. We saw Deuce in there a little bit. We saw lots of people mixing in and out at the cornerback position. We saw a little Javon Thomas. So hopefully some of those guys with a game against Ole Miss who has an electric offense, hopefully those guys, these reps can help them use multiple guys against Ole Miss, stay fresh. But like I said, to sum this all up, and we'll break this game more down on Monday's episode of Locked On Aggies and Tuesday's episode, but a win's a win. Was it beautiful? Was it perfect? No, it wasn't. There were things that could have been better. There were lots of different stuff that you could have seen be better in this football game. But at the end of the day, the way this season's gone, I'm not going to nitpick, although we have a little bit. Offensive line wasn't great, but at the end of the day, you won the game. You are living to play another day. You're 5-3. You got a chance to take down Ole Miss, take down LSU, and potentially go 9-3. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. But what I'm saying is it's still on the table thanks to winning this football game. I heard some people saying, could South Carolina kind of sneak up on you in this game? I wasn't a big believer, but didn't come to fruition. The Aggies are able to get the job done, win the football game. Feel good knowing that. Y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. That's going to do it for this reaction show of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope everybody enjoyed the ball game. Hope some of y'all were able to go. It was a good, fun game. Fun to get a win after the bye week. Feel good. A home win. Great stuff. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you on Monday right here on Locked On Aggies.